let's keep this show moving here and get into the meat and potatoes. We've rambled on for about 40 minutes here about we actually this was a good entertaining conversation. We roasted each other a couple of times. We got a good spring training report. We got a good NFL combine report. We got to talk some basketball. We got to call Jay Billis a clown. And let's transition over to episode 3 of the Dynasty about the New England Patriots. It's streaming on Apple TV here. After watching these 2 episodes, I didn't think they were as good as the first 2. I thought episode 3 was pretty interesting, talking about how Kraft grew up in the New England area. He dreamt of going to the Super Bowl but before owning the team. And when the Patriots actually came to Massachusetts, the Crafts, they bought season tickets, and that was kind of something that bonded them together as a family of going to the game despite how bad they were. And Kraft just talked about how he just kept working and working to build up to eventually try to own a team. So he started by buying the parking lots, and then I believe he bought the stadium. Is that?
Yeah.
He bought the stadium.
Basically, and when the team finally would try to buy the team.
And yeah, it scared off the people trying to buy the team. And when Kraft took over, there was a newfound excitement. He went out and hired one of the best at the time, arguably probably the best coach in the NFL in Bill Parcells. And he was right away, he was beloved. There were people that were cheering him on, that were excited anytime he would be out in public. And Parcells, it was finally an ownership that was actually committed to winning and doing things the right way to build something sustainable in New England. And they got there. 4 years after buying the team, they make it to the Super Bowl in '96, where they play the Packers, and it was kind of marred by there was a lot of distractions going into that game, where the team, they said they noticed that Bill Parcells, there was something off. They just felt like he wasn't coming back. And that's when they cut to Robert Kraft, and they talk about how, well, if you ask Parcells, he took the power away. Kraft felt that Parcells was making the best decision in the best interest of Parcells. And they were in the media and talking points leading up to the game. It was, he's going to be a New York Jets coach by about 9 a.m. Monday morning. And the players felt like they were distracted and constantly being asked what the situation is with Parcells, and just took the oxygen out of the room, essentially.
Yeah, I had no idea that was the case until seeing this. And that's absolutely wild. To think you're going into the biggest game of your football career. This is the first Super Bowl this organization has been in 11 seasons. And your head coach is pretty much saying, yeah, I'm sick of this place. I'm leaving. I'm going to go back to coach the other team in New York. In your own division, too, being the Jets. That's just wild. Apparently business in the coaching world, in the NFL world, is just a lot crazier than you'd think. But in Parcells, going into this, dude, it's you're already a 2-time champ. If you stay focused and you can win another one with another organization and you get 3, you're viewed in a totally different realm than you are right now. Some people might say he's the second greatest coach of all time behind Belichick. So learning about that was just absolutely crazy. I was I had no idea there was that much drama going around with him leaving this job.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then it cuts back to 2001 in the AFC Championship, and that's actually how episode 3 starts, is with the captains talking with Jerome Bettis, and then Brady was getting hit early in that game, and then it just took one low hit to where it knocked him out of the game, and Bledsoe comes in. And Drew Bledsoe's been fantastic in this. Listening to him talk about it, maybe it helps being 20 years removed, where he's got a much different perspective about it. which helps. Talking about how he hadn't played in a long time, and it felt like Tom led them all the way there. He gets hurt. Just the bad luck the organization has had, and Drew's attitude was screwed. I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to play as hard as I can and see what happens. He had nothing to lose at that point. He probably saw the writing on the wall that he wasn't going to be back in New England that year. So he figured, what the heck? This is good audition for whoever my next team is going to be. And they win, beat them 24-17. They advance to the Super Bowl. They're going, and it cuts to, I can't remember who it was, but cuts, we're going to Bourbon Street. And which, back to, in a sense, the scene of the crime where they lost to the Packers in that 96 year. And they started at staying in a hotel in downtown New Orleans. And then they actually moved to the outskirts, which is very much a rundown. Kind of reminded me of, if you remember in episode 1 where they talked about where the rookies were put up for training camp for New England. And Lawyer Malloy starts complaining about, hey, these rooms suck, man. I can't deal with it. And Bill, being the servant leader that he was, said, you know what? How about you just take the head coach's room? So Bill, I was like, I'm going to be up at the crack of dawn anyways. I'm not going to be sleeping much. I can lay my head there for a few hours and get back to work. So I'll take your room. You can have my room.
Well, weren't they sleeping on like twin beds too?
Yeah, pretty much.
In that hotel? That's crazy.
World's changed.
Where they talk about how like your arms, like they lay down and their arms are just fall off the bed.
And their legs, their legs are like that SpongeBob meme where he's all yoked up and his legs are on the ground and his arms are right here, where you're not going to get comfortable on that bed.
Yeah. You think any of them slept on futons?
Possible.
Pull-out
couch.
Yeah. Well, I bet you Sunday night there was nobody pulling out.
Nobody was no. That pull-out couch was still thing pulling out after that Super Bowl.
But we talked about in 96 being distractions with the head coach. There was also the controversy with New England was a quarterback controversy because Bledsoe, who was the $100 million franchise quarterback still, but was sitting on the bench, who got them to the Super Bowl after Brady went out. There was a lot of talk of who was gonna play, and the Patriots ended up deciding to go with Tom because they felt that he was the one that got him there. We're gonna keep rolling with him, and I can't imagine how tough of a conversation that would be. Drew probably handled it better than 98% of the world. He said he was like, yeah, I was disappointed, but at the end of the day, we were going back to being a Super Bowl. And Teddy Bruschi, who's also been great in this, talked about how he did his job. He put the team first and really kind of started the origins of the Patriot way.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, how this team didn't win more games with Bledsoe with this defense behind him is kind of crazy. Richard Seymour, Teddy Bruschi, Ty Law, Mike Vrabel, like
Willie McGinnis.
Yeah, it's just how? Like, what did you do to F up these games? Because this defense should never have given up more than 20 points.
No.
And then the game happened. And we haven't even talked about the game where they were 14-point underdogs going into this. And John Bon Jovi does a great. I thought him talking about it where it was the red, white, and blue. It was America, the Patriots. They were one. They felt as a team, they felt that they had an obligation because of 9/11. They were the one, and they were all together, which is why they decided to run out together instead of doing the starting lineups here. But I thought it was interesting when they talked about the Rams is, they admitted that the Rams were by far and away a more skilled team, more talented team. But they said, I think Willie McGinnis goes, They were soft. And which talks about the genius of Belichick here is early in the game, just latch onto their jerseys. They're not going to call holding. And if they do, or Ernie Adams talked about this. And if they do, stop for a little bit and then come back later because they're not going to call it in this big stage. They're going to let you play. Mm-hmm. And it worked. They were up 14-3 at half. And he had Robert Kraft talking about what he was going to say when he got up on the stage when they won the Super Bowl. And then all hell broke loose, as Ernie Adams described it. Said they pitched a shutout for 50 minutes and then all hell broke loose. And then with a minute 30 left, tied 17-17, Madden, everybody else is talking about kneeling it. And which we're learning more and more about this is Ernie Adams was 1,000% the brains behind the entire Patriots dynasty and operation. It doesn't make this is the only explanation because Belichick wanted to kneel it, but Ernie Adams got on the headset with Bill and said that the defensively they were out of gas and they weren't sure if the game got into overtime if the defense would be able to stop them. So they said, let's at least try to be aggressive. Let's go give Vinatieri a shot. And Belichick is in Brady's ear telling him, take care of the ball. Take care of the ball. And Bledsoe, being the cool, collected customer that he was, just said, fuck that. Go out there and sling it.
That is so cool. That's so, for Bledsoe to just be like, Tom, you worked so hard for this. Let's go here. Let's win this thing. Let's win this thing. Let's go be aggressive.
What is that, second year guy now?
Yeah, that was his second year.
Yeah, second year. He said, go be that guy. Become him. Sit out there, go out there, spin it. The Rams are going to be ready for this. Go out. You got a Hall of Fame kicker behind you. Get him in field goal range and win this thing. That's so cool. For Bledsoe to say that, where it's like, Drew, you're telling some guy to go out and create a legacy and be a global superstar, and you're always going to be the guy who got hurt, but you're telling him, just go out there and spin it. Let's win this thing.
And it gave him the confidence and just the confidence that they had in their second year play caller who was just a guy at that point. And then they go win the Super Bowl. And I thought Bray was funny when they had to go do some press conference for winning, being presented the Super Bowl MVP. And Brady gets in the car with Bill, and Bill just reeks of booze from the night before.
Looks at him. Hey, Tom, you played pretty well.
yeah, you played pretty well this year.
You played pretty well this year.
Which and then that was kind of the Belichickian way of, you see him at the parade or at parades going, no days off. That's where it came from. And then it doesn't really talk much about it kind of skips the Patriots beating the Panthers, doesn't really talk a whole lot about that game. And then it goes to them beating the Eagles, and that was leading up to that where it was like the first time they heard Dynasty, and Teddy Bruschi talks about how hearing that was like a drug. It was like chasing a high that he wanted, and it wasn't easy by any means, but by the end of it, like after they won that third Super Bowl, it felt more of a relief and monkey off their back that they won it rather than that joy and excitement that winning that first one was like.
Well, yeah, because you've been there, you've done that, and then your only sole focus is on winning. It mentally wears you out, which kind of like after the Bulls' first three-peat, Jordan was just mentally exhausted. He couldn't do it anymore because that becomes who you are. It consumes you. And you win a game and it's like, oh, well, we did what we're supposed to do. But then you lose and it's all you think about for the next 6 days. And it has to drive you just absolutely insane.
So, yeah. And then another good part was after winning the first Super Bowl is it got Brady a new contract. It made him a millionaire, and he's sitting in with his former roommate and says, I'm a millionaire, and then cranks up the song Black Betty and starts rolling down the street. I'm not gonna lie. After I watched that, and when I got into my car to go to work on Monday, I may or may not have played Black Betty with the volume all the way up driving to work. So, but that I think that wraps up episode 3 here. Let's go over to episode 4, and this is where we get into the juicy details. And I'm kind of disappointed. This is kind of where I wish what they would have done is I wish they would have waited a little bit longer, because I think that's what made The Last Dance so good, is because we still have, while this was being made, this was still in the middle of the season. At the time, Bill Belichick was still the head coach of the Patriots. So they weren't he wasn't much of a talker in this one about Spygate, which we get into. And that's where I say that they should have waited a little bit longer, where everybody is kind of a little bit more removed, similar to the way Drew Bledsoe was from this. 20 years has been time to kind of reflect in Spygate and maybe relaxed a little bit. I don't know if Bill Belichick will ever relax, but they talk about the sign stealing. They goes to the Patriots losing to the Colts in the 2006 AFC Championship and trading Randy Moss. A funny story of how he finds out he's traded. He's walking into the club in Vegas and he gets a call. Hey, is this Randy? This is Bill Belichick. And he hangs up, and then he calls him again. He's like, no, who's messing with me? And after a while of some coaxing, that Bill got through to Randy that it was actually Bill Belichick calling him. We just traded for you. We're going to be a Patriot. And he buys a 12-pack of Corona and says, I'm going to be a Patriot. And a lot of hype going into that season. They also traded for Dante Stallworth and Wes Welker. So that offense was loaded. And then in opening day, they're playing the Jets, and talking with the head of security, Patrick Aramini, caught a guy, the Patriots, recording the Jets defensive coaches, and they confiscate the camera and said that we're just going to turn this over to the NFL. They meet with the league, meet with Ernie Adams, and they talk about how the teams were stealing signs. This was at a point where the offense had a microphone in the helmet and the headset in the helmet, but the defense was still signaling it in. And Belichick, it would be interesting to hear him talk more about this, but all he really said about this, he kind of had that resting bitch face of, all he said was, it's in the past and he's atoned for his sins. They did it to study better. And this shows the strong ownership too of Robert Kraft, because he said he was pissed at Bill about this whole situation, but to help limit distractions, he protected him and protected his reputation. It turns out that Kraft had such a strong relationship with the NFL, and such the NFL people in the NFL offices looked at Kraft with such great respect. It kept a Bill from getting suspended.
Yeah, Bill and Ernie Adams can kind of try to play this victim card or say, hey, we're not talking about it, blah, blah, blah. This was in the past. You can't convince me that these guys didn't know wholeheartedly 100% what they were doing. They were stealing signs, and they were cheating. And it's not like, what Ernie Adams said, well, you could get those signals looking at the press conference. You have some guy getting video and then sending it to Ernie, and then Ernie sending those signs directly to Bill. This is cheating 101. And like Jackie McMullen said.
No, it's not cheating.
Okay, Mr. Michigan, trying to defend this over here. You can't. The fact that Belichick tried to play it off as dumb when he was the most detailed guy in the world, you can't convince me that he didn't know what he wasn't doing. And it's just the ultimate. He thought he was better than us because he thought he didn't have to listen to these rules. and he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And you know,
I
and
think
he's
this
also
is more that Eric Mangini is a rat, and he should be treated as such, and that's why he was never a good NFL head coach, is because he's a rat.
And you know, it's funny you mentioned that, Dylan. I thought it was so comical how Pioli there tried to almost play off the victim card. Oh no, you know what? The one rule about the family, you got to keep it in the family. You got to do this and you got to do that. Give me a break. Mangini was there in New England when he probably knew Belichick was doing this. He probably didn't like it, and it stuck with him. And then after a while, he just realized and said, "You know what? We can't do this. This is cheating." And then he snitched on him and how Pioli and Belichick are trying to play this victim card. How, oh, he shouldn't have done that. If he knew about it, he should have been quiet. Blah 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 blah. You know, just give me a break, New England, because people now, they refer to Belichick as a cheater, and they don't give these first 3 Super Bowls as much credibility because of this. So I just, like I said, I just thought it was kind of funny how they tried to play off the victim card and pass it off as, oh, no, it was a misunderstanding. Oh, we didn't know the rules. You know, Bill, you can't say that because you knew the rule in 2019 when you were playing the Jets, when you had all those false starts to keep the clock moving. When you were up 33-0 on a Monday night game, you knew the rules. You thought you were just better than us and could get away with it.
They found a loophole in the system. That's all they did. And they, you know, what it did though is it rallied that team together, and it brought